I woke up this morning with new wisdom on my mind. I know who I am. There's no need to hide. I got something to say. I'm thinking that it's time. Why? Cause I'm a young intellect. I'm a young intellect. I'm a young intellect. I'm a young intellect. Pay me my respect.
You are now tuned in to the Young Intellect podcast, an open space where experiences and opinions are welcomed, hosted by Andreas, Sam, and Mafwa.
Hello, welcoming you to our open space to teach, learn, laugh, and love.
I am your co-host Sam, here to encourage you to explore different ways to view the world at large.
And I'm your co-host, Andreas Renee, bringing you loads of realness and motivation into your everyday lives and minds.
So what does it truly mean to be in a relationship? Relationships connect individuals with one another throughout either physical or emotional intimacy. From outside looking in, we focus on all the glitz and glamour, but relationships are far more than just like the good times. It requires work, and people actually have to want to be in relationships in order for them to maintain the relationships. No two relationships are ever alike, and no relationships are perfect. What one couple experience might not be the same as another couple. So for this reason, we would like to welcome Djosy for conversations about her outlook on relationships. So disclaimer, it's just her outlook and we want her perspective on relationships.
Welcome.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. I kind of know you already a little bit, but tell everyone else.
Yeah, so as Sam already mentioned, my name is Djosy. I am from the Bay Area, so like San Francisco area. I've lived in Florida, but I claim the Bay. I currently live in Los Angeles. I work at UCLA Health, so I'm really interested in health, and I've just recently graduated from USC. And since this podcast is focused on relationships, I've currently with my boyfriend of 4 years now. So we're just going through life in LA, just working towards our goals.
Wonderful to
Congratulations.
All right.
That's wonderful to hear actually, because I have never been committed to anything like that.
Yeah.
4 years is a while.
Yeah, it is. A whole college degree.
Oh, really? It goes by fast though.
That's good to hear. So yeah. I guess we can go into asking you some questions about your relationship, since this is what this episode is about. So what does being in a committed relationship mean to you?
I think it means just honoring the boundaries between you and your partner. I think a committed relationship is choosing, keyword choosing, to be with someone despite inconveniences, hardships, uncomfortable truths, just doing life together and experiencing life with someone else. I think that's what it means being in a committed relationship.
I like that definition.
Yeah, I like the emphasis on choosing, because some people feel like they're forced into it,
Right.
in a way, or like they have to be, but it's actually your choice.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So we wanted to know, like, what are your views on 50-50 or 80-20 relationships?
Ooh, this is a good question, because my boyfriend and I talk about it all the time. I talk about it with my parents all the time. I think I want to preface this by saying I think every person in a relationship should put forth an effort to make the relationship work. That being said, I think 50-50 looks different for everybody. I think my 50 may not look like my partner's 50, because everybody's different, and I think everybody gives of themselves differently. I think my parents taught me that it shouldn't be 50-50, and I used to really believe, like, I'm doing 50% of this housework, making effort here, then you should be doing 50. But I think now that I've been in a relationship so long, I'm starting to understand that sometimes it's going to be 70-30. Sometimes it's going to be 90-10. It's going to be 80-20. For example, like if I'm currently taking classes while working full time, so is my boyfriend. So if I can't do something or I can't get to something, if I have an exam or like a midterm coming up, he knows I can't complete certain responsibilities. He'll pick up where I'm lacking, you know? I think that's what a
Right.
relationship is. Like, it's not going to be 50-50 all the time. Like, I can imagine if in a relationship, there's kids involved, like, it's not going to be 50-50. That's what partnership is, I think.
Yeah, you see, I really didn't see it like that, but like listening to you, I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Because I would
Right. That's a really cool way of describing it. I didn't. Huh.
That
Yeah, because I feel like, I don't know, I used to really think 50-50 was a thing, and I think our generation really thinks like that. Like, you know, like if he's gone, like you've seen those things on Twitter where there's like, he pays 50% of my meal, or he pays the meal and I take the tip. Like, I don't know. Sometimes it's not, there's a lot of gray. It's not just black and white in life. So
that is true. I like
That makes sense because, like, a lot of people who I know, like, they'll say everybody has their own different views, like how you said, on how 50-50 is. And majority of who I know usually would say that 50-50 is sort of around the same thing. You have the other person's back when they can't carry the weight, but then it was also, as long as you still, held your end of the bargain, we were fine. But you explain it in a deeper manner, it makes a lot more sense.
because I think it's sorry if you were talking.
go ahead.
No, because I think sometimes, like, when we look at it at, like, the surface area, because sometimes people are like, 80-20 means, like, he pays the house bills, and I'm like, I don't do anything, and I just, I'm there. Or, like, I take care of the kids, and he pays everything else.
Right.
and that could
Right.
be 50-50 as well, like in a sense. Or
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So it doesn't have to be, oh, we split the bills in half, we split taking care of the kids in half, like everything half and half. It's just everyone's putting in their own effort. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that definitely does make sense.
Yeah. I think for example, like a big thing I think for us is like housework, because we live together now. I think the women generally just put a lot more emotional and cognitive energy in terms of taking care of the household. That's how a lot of households work.
I believe.
Yeah.
Right. And I was raised like that. So I'm always the one like, okay, like the dishes have to be washed. Like we got to do laundry. We got to take care of this. We got to take care of this. I carry a lot of that emotional and cognitive weight, you know? So sometimes he'll do his part and put that effort in and say, okay, then, on my way back home, I'll pick up groceries. On my way back home, I'll pick this up, just making life a little easier for me.
Mm, I like
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, oh, this is how it
taking
is.
down notes.
This is what it means to be.
You're really dropping some gems here. Like, relationship tip number 1. Everyone's 50-50 is not the same.
Right.
Exactly. That's the tip number 1 for this episode.
So, how did your relationship start?
So we both went to USC. His name is Julius. So Julius and I both went to USC. We met at like a gospel choir performance, and he sat next to me because I was sitting next to our mutual friend. And we praised and we introduced ourselves. We kind of talked throughout the performance, and we didn't talk after that until I saw him at a day party. And I just went up to him and I said hi, and we ended up talking for hours, which is not like me. And I know now it's not like him at all. And he asked for my number before I left, and the rest is history, honestly. We've just
Aww.
been friends, best friends since then, honestly.
I like that you said best friends. That's really cute. Oh.
Right. It's supposed to be friends first.
Friends first.
And it
Yeah.
seems like you made the first move a little bit. You approached him the second day.
Yeah.
Kind of, but honestly, like I I was reflecting on everything, and I didn't go up to him with the intention of staying there and talking to him. I think I went up just to say, when you just greet someone, you see someone at a party and you just greet them. That's
Yeah.
all I intended to do, but it just ended up being way more than that. So
It was meant to be. You was meant to walk up on him.
Yeah.
yeah.
So the new generation has this idea that dating means that you're in a relationship with someone, rather than just going out on dates with them and maybe other people and just trying to get to know one another. With this in mind, what is your take on the idea of dating in this age?
I think dating is getting to know different people to see if you're compatible. I think language is super important when you're talking about dating and relationships. I kind of agree with the idea that dating means you're getting to know other people. But honestly, I didn't really date before I met my boyfriend. What do y'all think?
I really feel the exact same way. We were talking about this the other day, and I was saying that the whole point of dating is the word date. You're going out on dates to get to know the other person, which means you can go out on, I don't know, 3 or 5 days. Just make sure they're not the same day. But you can go out to dates with multiple people just to get to know them. You don't have to be committed to one person who you're trying to get to know. Because then it's like, well, dang, I done wasted my time on this person. And
Mm.
you don't have no other person to, talk to or gain a friendship with.
Oh yeah, I agree, and I think what the main thing is that the language has changed for this generation, because also technology has changed. So going out on dates isn't really the first step anymore. Whereas in previous generations, it was the first step is talking to each other on social, like having each other social media platforms, calling each other, texting each other more. And like I think in older generations you might have had to go on a date to find out that person's favorite color, but now you can literally just text them and find out what it is. So when people like, oh, we're dating is more serious now, I think it's because it's like times have changed and that word means something different now than it meant then. um, but dating is very important, and I think we, instead of saying dating, we say talking, if it makes sense.
Right.
Like we're just talking.
But
I
talking is
get it so confused though.
though, yeah, talking is different. Talking is the step before dating.
No, not. I mean,
Mm,
not really. I think we used. I think for me, we like dating back then is our talking, because like
Mm,
before you would have to go on a date to find out their favorite color and find out their favorite food, but now you can talk to them through text message and find it out. And I think it's just like words, like
mhm.
definitions are getting confused in a
but
way.
you can't really get to know somebody just by texting
That's
because you can misread how that person is talking. You don't really know deeply how that person is feeling. You just know what they're saying in words, but you're not hearing anything come out their mouth. So you don't know if their vibe is really the same or they just texting you just to text you.
That's true.
That's true. Good point.
that's true. That's why people like go on phone calls, FaceTimes, and they do all of that as well. But at the same time, going out with someone is also, meeting them in person is very important. But like in
Yeah.
the age where catfish was a thing, where you'll be in a whole relationship with someone and they'll be in a different state, you never met them, and you're being finessed, like it's very different. Like some people's
Yeah.
are very different too.
I definitely agree. Yeah, I agree. I see where you're coming from with that one.
So even though you didn't date that much,
Mhm.
what would you say is the top 5 rules to dating?
I would say for women, am I speaking on behalf of girls?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yes.
for
speak for
yourself.
yourself. For
Yeah.
yourself.
Speaking for myself, okay. I would say one, know yourself.
Mm.
I don't think you should be seeking out anything and anybody unless you know who you are, and you have an
Period.
established identity. That being said, also number two, maybe set your expectations early on and standards early on. So when you are on that date, or you are, someone's asking your favorite color, like through text, I don't know, just know what you're looking for in terms of like character, personality, beliefs, all of that. I would say don't have like I'm dating to get married. I don't think that's very fruitful, I guess is the right word. I think you really need to get to know someone, and it takes time to get to know someone. So maybe don't push that expectation on everyone, because maybe not everybody is ready for that. I don't know. I've never really dated anyone, like been taken out on dates by a lot of people.
Well, since the name is changed to really talking, I guess the top 5 rules of talking.
Don't put all your what's that phrase?
Eggs in one basket.
Eggs in one basket. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, because you don't know what's out there. You don't know what's out there. So don't, for example, you get dating multiple people, seeing what you like. I think that's very important. Don't just latch onto one person and say, oh, I'm going to date that one person and we're just going to see what we're doing from here. I think you should really experience people, experience what you like, what you don't like, and make that choice after experiencing a lot. Yeah, I don't know if I have top 5, but I would say those are very important to me.
Love them.
I'll write those down.
Especially the one of like, don't date for like marriage.
Yeah.
Not everyone want to be married anyways.
Right.
You might be pushing someone away because you have that notion of like, I have to get married, and then you scaring the person away that could have been like, possibly you could have married them, but they're not ready for that yet.
Yeah.
And a lot of marriages are really getting tested and exposed right now with the whole quarantine, because you're stuck in this house with this one person who you agreed to be in a relationship with to death do you part.
And then you find out you don't want that to happen.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, probably because they rushed into it and their mindset was just marriage instead of actually getting to know their partner.
So for you, I would want to know, like, what's one of the most important things to you in a relationship? What must you have in a relationship?
I think I know I need to have radical honesty. Like radical honesty, trust, patience, willingness to communicate and comprehend. I hate when I see things on like Instagram or Twitter saying communication is, so important for a relationship. I think communication and comprehension super for a relationship to work. And I would say maybe the last thing would be grace. I think people don't talk about that enough in relationships. You need a lot of grace because you're dealing with another imperfect human being. So I think everything I just mentioned are just, if you don't have them in a relationship, I don't know how that relationship would thrive.
Yeah, honestly, like especially like with the comprehension, because you can communicate all you want, but if somebody doesn't comprehend you, you're not going nowhere. Just
nowhere. You're really just talking to a brick wall
at this point.
Yeah.
You were absolutely. I think that, and everybody, just like love language, I think everybody has like a different like communication. Like everybody communicates differently. So if you're communicating differently, the way, like I use a lot of facial expression, body language, and I speak, and my partner does not. So I think being able to read somebody too, and not just verbally communicating, very important.
Right.
Yeah, because someone might say something but not actually say it with words.
Right.
Like maybe the way they look, or
right.
Like me, like I could be a bit passive, so being able to read someone, that's definitely something.
Are you someone that kind of like reads off of vibe and energy?
In terms of my relationship, I try to, because I know, let me preface this and say my partner is a Cancer, and I know there's a Cancer or Cancers in this podcast as co-host. So he can be, if he's not going to communicate something right off the bat, if I've hurt him or if I've angered him or if I've made him upset, I can 100% see it through his body language, and I can just pick it off of the room and say, hey, like, did I do something wrong, or like, are we okay? And then he'll come out of that little passive aggressive shell, kind of. Whereas me, I'm more of like, if there's an issue, I'm gonna say it straight up and bluntly, unless I need to sit down and like think about it. Like sometimes I'll be like, is this worthy of being brought up? Like, could this lead to a long discussion or an argument? And so sometimes I just have to like see if things are worth even bringing up, or worth me being so annoyed about certain things, or
What is your sign?
I'm a Scorpio.
Oh, okay.
And that is what kind of sign is that?
A water sign.
So
Oh,
it's a water sign.
It's a water sign. Let's see, reconnect.
What is your sign?
I'm a fire sign. I'm a Leo. Water and fire, they balance each other off. You're blunt, just like fire signs are blunt.
Yes, fire sign. I've come to learn fire signs are very blunt.
Yeah.
Especially
We should really apologize in advance when we be blunt, but it happens.
So, what is something that you have learned about yourself in being in a relationship?
Okay. I think that I want to preface this and say that all relationships that you're ever going to be in, or all relationships you have been in, mirror the relationship you have with yourself. So I think, for example, like in a romantic relationship, the honeymoon phase, you won't initially see it, but once that phase is over, your true self and your identity is going to come forward. And with relationships, I think each person in a relationship has baggage. Everyone has baggage, no matter how much you try to suppress it or manage it or deal with it. You have baggage. You're a human being. That's natural. So I think, so if you experience like low self-worth or low confidence, low self-esteem, anger, what are the bitterness, laziness, fear, or just if you've had negative past experiences with your parents or your other like relationships, your friends, if you have like unhealthy attachment styles, you're going to project that. Everything that you're dealing with, you're going to project that. So everything that you're dealing with subconsciously or you try to suppress will absolutely come to light in some way, shape, or form that will be projected onto your partner. And I've learned that I've had a lot of baggage that I need to deal with, So I think this relationship has shown me that I need to constantly be sitting with myself and self-reflecting, working on my own issues, and finding wholeness and unconditional love for myself before I can do it for someone else. So I think this relationship, or like being in a relationship, has taught me that, and it's continued to teach me that. It's kicking my butt with that. I also think being in a relationship has taught me that it's literally my job to make myself happy. I'm not responsible for my partner's happiness, and I can never be, and vice versa. And I think I can add and I can supplement to his happiness, but I can't and I shouldn't be the main source of his happiness. So I think, and vice versa. So I think those are really important things that I've learned from being about myself from being in a relationship.
I love that.
Yeah,
Facts.
Honesty. The honesty.
And I have a question. Like, so
Yeah.
my biggest like I think obstacle of getting in a relationship is that I know I do have baggage, and I won't want to I don't know how I would go about dealing with that whilst being in a relationship. So how is it that you deal with your baggage whilst in a relationship?
Ooh, that's a good question because I'm always dealing with it. I would say I've come to learn a little bit more about myself, and I've been doing a lot of like, I don't know if you've heard like about inner child work. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I've learned about like my attachment style and my certain thing. It's uncomfortable, but certain things about myself that, maybe I'm not so confident in, or like certain things that I project that I've just grown up with in my head. Does that make sense? For
Yeah.
example,
Mm-hmm.
a really good example. So I grew up in a very Haitian household, but my family's from Haiti, and I've always, like, my mom raised me in a household where there are gender roles. So my mom would basically take care of the household. She would clean and she would cook. And I remember seeing her with my dad growing up, and I appreciate it, but I didn't like it, and I didn't want that to be my reality when I did get into a relationship. So I think now, whenever it's joked about, or whenever I find myself doing too much like household work, I get triggered, and I'm like, no, I shouldn't be doing this because I don't want to be this type of person. And that's something I need to deal with, because what are my real problems with that? Why don't I want to be seen as the, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's just a small example. There's like so many other examples I could bring up, but I'm just saying that's those things come to light and you have to deal with them. Otherwise, like, your partner's not going to know where any of this is coming from, because that your partner doesn't know everything that's going on inside your head and all the stuff that you deal with on a daily basis. So, but to answer your question, I would say doing some inner child work. I think figuring out your attachment issues or attachment styles, knowing your personality, um, and when I do find myself being triggered, I actively try to take a step back
Mm.
and think about, okay, what am I going to say next? How am I going to like deal with this? If I feel like if you're coming into a new relationship with baggage from another relationship or just baggage in general, like that has to be managed, because you don't want to hurt another person with the same things that are holding you back.
I like that.
Mm.
I wanted to know, how did you like go about finding your attachment style?
Um, I would say I grew up very anxious, and I know there's something called like the anxious attachment style or something like that. It's an anxious attachment style, and I would get early on in a relationship, I would get very like, a little bit insecure if I didn't talk to my partner for a while, or if he didn't update me, or stuff like that. That's not healthy in a relationship. And so I sat down with myself and realized, okay, this is not good, because every I'm doing that to every person I love in my life. Like, every person should have a right to be like live freely and do what they want, and not have me like constantly trying to control like what time they'll be back, all that's, you know what I mean? So I think sitting down with that and just doing my own research. Like, I do a lot of research about myself and about issues that I have, just to make sure that I'm okay, but I'm also okay for my partner. Because that's what a relationship is. Like, you want to be constantly working on yourself to make sure you're good, but also you can still put effort into a relationship.
I love that. I never thought about it like that.
And is that something that you include your partner in on as well, like
Right.
searching up attachment styles and how to deal with them? Because I know like sometimes dealing with things alone can be hard. Is there ever a time where you're like, could you help me deal with it? Not like help me get over this, but be there for me during this time, and maybe like do this activity with me so I feel like we're connected.
Mm-hmm. I think I haven't looked at our attachment styles together. It's not like we sit down and we look it up, but I think I can kind of make out his attachment styles just by his behaviors, and I can kind of just see how his personality is. I think we we did that like quiz of love languages. We do certain stuff like that just to learn more about each other. But in terms of him helping me with certain like my own baggage, or yeah, helping me, he sometimes, for example, if he knows it makes me a little anxious if he goes out and I don't hear back from him, I will explain to him saying, this is how it makes me feel. And if I feel this way, this is how I might react if I, you know, and it makes me like saying like it makes me feel worried about you, and this is where it comes from. It comes from anxiety. It might not have any basis to it, but it does come from anxiety, and he understands that, and he comprehends that. Again, communication and comprehension. And he'll say, okay, then I'll update you when I get to my location, or I'll update you when I'm coming back. And he's, to this day, he still does that because he understands how I am. So it's like being considerate in little ways just to make, your partner feel better, but also to be able to do your own thing and be an individual in a relationship.
I like that.
So, what kind of advice would you give someone who, for example, say they're in a committed relationship, they love their partner, but when it comes down to communicating and having that comprehension and their partner lacks that, how can they get them to understand them a little bit better?
So you're asking how as a partner can you make your other partner understand that they need more communication?
Yeah, like how can you get them to understand you if it's like a problem?
Ooh. I mm,
And this is like for everyone.
Mm.
The question for everyone, if you know.
Like, speaking of the love languages, I guess like maybe trying to find a way to communicate to them in a way that they would understand, and not in a way that you would understand, because sometimes I feel like when we have issues, we communicate to people in a way that we would understand, or in a way that we would want someone to communicate to us. But sometimes people are different and they don't really get stuff the way that you might get it, so you might have to go about in a different way of telling them in a way that they would understand.
Huh.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
That made a lot of sense.
Yeah. And also, as Josie was saying, they have to be able to comprehend as well. So if that's not a skill they have, then there's not much you can do.
There's really not. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's really not. I just hear that a lot, and I see that a lot on my feed on Instagram, where a lot of females have that same problem where they feel like their significant other doesn't understand them.
Yeah, maybe they need to, like, as Sam was saying it, maybe like tell a story to relate it to them. Like, some people don't understand it, but if you relate it to some people they care about, I don't know, like, okay, if this was your sister or something, because like men don't really, sometimes they don't understand. But if you're like, okay, but if this was your mother, would you want her to be treated like this? And maybe give it to them in a way that they might feel it in a way.
Right.
I think adding to that, I think if someone loves you, they will do their best to try to understand. No questions asked.
Facts.
Because there are times that I'm saying something and what my boyfriend is hearing is completely different and he is not understanding, but he will sit down with me and try to understand. Because if you want a relationship to work, then you're going to put the effort. So if you are not making an effort to understand where someone's coming from, and you have to be given all these, your mom, what if this happened to your mom or your sister? Then, you know, that's hopeless. At that point, it's hopeless. Like, is
True.
it should be because that person loves you, not the mom, not the sister, that he is gonna try to understand what you're saying.
That is very true. That
That's the answer right there. That is the answer.
because you can't force anyone to want to hear you or listen to you.
Right,
Or I
right.
want to change.
Exactly.
Kim Michelle said you can't raise a man. So, like, with being in a relationship right now, has your idea of relationships changed over the years, or like, what were your expectations prior to getting in a relationship?
I think when I was a freshman, because we got together when I was a freshman, the end of my freshman year, I was not looking for a relationship. Had no intention of being in a relationship. Um, but when we first started dating, I think he was my best friend. We became really, really close friends. Um, but I think now it's progressively become more so of a partnership. Like, I think of him, like when I think of him, I rarely ever think of, oh yeah, that's my boyfriend. I just, in my head, he's like my partner, like my confidant. We're not just best friends anymore who go on dates and study together. We literally handle life together. So what he goes through, I go through. What affects him affects me. So it's way more serious now. And I think once you have that realization that everything that affects your partner affects you, I think that's how you know that you're really in love and that your relationship is progressing, because it really shouldn't stay like lovey-dovey, no sacrifices in it, you know. So
Right. That is so beautiful.
Right?
Like, I'm over here thinking I'm enjoying single life, and then I hear this, and it's like, well,
well,
dang.
I'm gonna be honest though, but I've never really experienced being single as an adult.
Mm.
So I don't really,
Facts.
so being single might be where it's at. So
Mm-hmm.
personally for me, I just don't know. The last time I was single was 4 or 5 years ago. So I don't know anything other than being with him. So
True.
Yeah,
so
This
I
is the
don't
first time I've been
really
single
care.
in months.
yeah, I can't relate. I've been single forever, basically.
I
But
don't get how people are single this long. Like, this is probably the longest I've been single, and it's really weird.
Mm.
oh,
I think for me, I've been like really working on myself, but I like, as I did say, I'm kind of like also scared to get into a relationship because my idea is that I have to be perfect and
Oh,
clear up all my baggage before I get into a relationship. So I'm like, no, I still got stuff to deal with. And like hearing you say it, like it's a partnership, like it is like you can work on yourself whilst you're in a relationship. It's totally fine.
yeah, I definitely can relate to Moth where people would ask me on dates. I'm like, no, I'm okay. I don't want to bother you with me. Like, please.
oh.
Yeah, it's like I got a lot going on, so I don't
Mhm.
really want all of this.
Yeah, let me just work on me a little bit and then I'll get back to you or not.
But then I have been watching videos, and it does say like you learn about yourself more when you are in relationships with people, not just like a romantic relationship, but friendships
Mhm.
as well.
You do.
So I've been trying to like have more friends, not like forcing it, but
Mhm.
like just learning through about myself through people as well.
Mhm.
That's nice. I need to do that.
So, what is one piece of advice you'll give to someone in a brand new relationship?
Hmm. Um, in a brand new relationship, I would say establish boundaries swiftly, expeditiously. Um, I would say be considerate, because you're tangling your life with somebody else's. So be considerate. I mean, take your time getting to know that person, because like I said before, I still don't know. I've been with my boyfriend 4 years. We honestly have been together inseparable, honestly, and I'm still learning about him. So take your time getting to know somebody. Um, give grace. I know I said that, but so your partner is going to upset you in some way, shape, or form. They're going to tick you off or annoy you either intentionally or unintentionally, and you got to give grace. Nobody is perfect. For example, like I was saying before, this ties into what I was saying before. Like I'm very self-critical. Like I have a hard time like forgiving myself for things, or like not tearing myself down for things that I do. And because I before a relationship, I never dealt with that. I'm learning to do that for myself now, but it's getting easier to do it for someone else because I'm doing it for myself. I would say set expectations and communicate them to your partner, and make sure your partner understands what those like expectations and boundaries are for your relationship. I think that's something in our generation, definitely, like no one boundaries are so big. No, I think no one communicates them. So I always see things on like Twitter and Instagram saying, oh, this person was talking to me, but here he had a whole girlfriend, or you know what I mean? Like, did you, or I thought we were in a relationship, but he was out here dating so many other people. I want to ask those girls, like, did you set expectations? Is he just not following them, or did you guys agree upon anything? Like, I don't know. I think a lot of relationships could be simple starting out. You are together, or you're not. Like, that's really what it should be.
Mm-hmm. So, what would you say is the best part of being in a relationship?
I think being with your best friend, or having that person, having someone who just accepts every single part of you and chooses to love you. I don't think there's anything like that feeling. I would like that feeling of just like acceptance from somebody. I think that's a beautiful thing. Just being around someone I can be myself around, and knowing that I have like a partner in crime for anything. Like anything I'm down to do, he's gonna be down to do, and he's gonna support me. In terms of like my career, someone who like eggs me on, or like he literally like supports me and gives me confidence when I literally don't have confidence to draw from in myself. I think this is something I always like think about when I think about relationships. I don't know where I heard it, but I always think about it. It says like if you're inviting your best friend to your wedding, if you have to invite your best friend to your wedding, then you're doing it wrong. So that's how I think of it. Because you should be, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
if you think about it, yeah, like I already have my best friend at my wedding, so I don't really need to be like, oh, I need to invite my best friend. Like, you should be marrying your best friend, and I think that's the best part of being with.
a quote.
I really didn't get it at first. I was like, wait. I'm like, oh.
It took me a while too.
Okay.
Yes, I like that. That should be a quote.
You gonna
Yeah.
We'll have to save that one. Okay.
I was gonna ask what is the worst, but I think like you've answered, like, relationships are not perfect, so I'm not gonna ask that.
Yeah, I also feel like we're also in a generation, social media, people are posting, and I'm guilty of it too, like posting like, trying to capture a relationship as like perfect, and that's, whenever I talk about my relationship, I always try to be like, it's not lovey-dovey all the time. It's not perfect. Like my relationship, what is a perfect relationship? I know I'm happy in my relationship, and I know that I'm putting in the effort to stay in my relationship, but it's not perfect. And I think our generation we idolize relationships, like celebrity relationships, other people's relationship, couple goals. Like I hate seeing that.
Like I truly hate that. Like I always say, like I'm my own goal. I'm gonna be my own
right.
Follow that train, because you just never know what goes on behind closed doors. You only see what you see, what people put out there, but behind closed doors, it could be something different.
Right.
And that goes for like the Will and Jada thing. Like everyone was like, I want that Will and Jada love, and then
And see what happened.
he's like, crying about his wife. Like
They are in a whole entanglement and stuff.
She was a whole younger dude. Is that your relationship goals?
I mean, I guess
Exactly.
for some people.
Yeah, for some, but not for all.
so, I guess a really important question is conflict is going to be part of a relationship because they're two different people and sometimes you have opposing views. So what are some ways that you resolve conflict in your relationship? Methods, if you use any particular ones.
Well, for my relationship, because I don't speak for my relationship, we practice open communication. So if there's something bothering us, we really do sit down and talk about it. Sometimes for hours, sometimes through the night, sometimes it continues on and on for like 3-4 days. Like they may like we might have other things to talk about, but that's the main thing. We just try to get to resolution swiftly. We try to communicate bluntly and very thoroughly. And it might to resolve conflict, like it's gonna be tense and it may be uncomfortable, but I think the thing that we have in our relationship is that we just try to get to a resolution. Like by the end of the conversation, however long it may be, days, we say, is this resolved? And we both have to agree, and then it's resolved. Like we communication is so big. Making sure we share everything that is on our hearts is so big. So that's how we resolve conflict. And sometimes, I'll be honest, sometimes there might be arguing, there might be a lot of disagreements, but as long as it helps you get to a resolution and you both can work with it and live with it, I think that works for us at least.
I like that.
So
Was there ever a time where it was like hard for you to open up?
I would say in the beginning of our relationship, it was hard for both of us to open up about certain things. And I think sometimes there are certain subjects that come up that we both need time to like think about and then we'll communicate it. But yeah, there's been a couple of times where I was uncomfortable sharing certain things with my partner, which is natural.
Has there been like times that you didn't say something because you didn't want to hurt like his feelings or anything?
Yes, all the time.
And
Not all the time.
like because that's how I am, especially my relationships with people. Like there might be something like that happened and I don't want to say it because I don't want them to feel a certain type of way about it.
Right.
But you've been with your partner for 4 years, so you must be like good at doing this, even though like it is still hard for you to do it. Like how do you go about saying things that you think might hurt them?
I think I wouldn't say all the time, but I think there are some times I think um I think that you never want to hurt your partner, right? You never want to that should in a relationship if your intention is to hurt your partner, then you should get out of that relationship. But if you're sharing something because you know you need to share it and you need to get it off your chest, and even if it's uncomfortable, I think in our relationship we share that even if it's uncomfortable because conflict helps you grow. And I know it sounds counterintuitive, but it really does help you grow. And even if someone is hurt by hearing it, at the end of the day, that person will move from past that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
My
Yeah,
partner,
that makes sense.
like my partner knows that at the end of the day, I'd rather my feelings be hurt than for me to be living in like bliss, like ignorance. Like I don't like that. And for Scorpio, I think trust is everything. Like honesty is everything, you know? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can definitely relate to that. I'd rather you tell me the truth than for me to. I'll be
yeah.
hurt, obviously, but like I'll get over it faster than for you to just like, what's the word? I forgot the word. But it's like intentionally, yeah, intentionally keep something from me.
Yeah, I don't
Mm-hmm.
like that. Mm-mm.
Mm.
Yeah. And I think for different signs, because I know you brought like the Scorpio sign, I think for different signs, like they handle that differently.
Mm-hmm.
Because like for like myself, for Leo's, like we can't lie to you. It'll be written on our face if it's in person. I can't if it's there's something in my mind and I really need to get it off to you so that it can get resolved or fixed. I can't lie about it. I can't sugarcoat it because then that's gonna hurt your feelings even more
Right.
than me just going ahead and being straight up honest with you and be like, this is A, B, and C. I don't want to tell you no lies. I don't want to leave out any details because I want you to fully understand what I'm trying to get at you at.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people they hide their feelings because they don't want to hurt the other person, or they feel like it may not be as important as they think it is. And I'm like, if it's eating you up alive that much and you're thinking about it every day, it's important.
Right.
Mm.
I definitely agree with that.
I was gonna say, just adding to that, I think you should give us, even if it hurts, if it's hard to get off your chest, or if it hurts the other person, I think you were saying it's gonna show. Like you were saying,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna show on. It's you need to tell that person.
Yeah, because it's gonna show on your face, like for certain people, like you can't you can't hide it because you can see like the look of fear, like oh it's gonna eventually come out one day, or oh it's gonna slip out my mouth. Like that eagerness of wanting to tell that other person is going
Yeah.
to show on your face.
I think adding to that, I was trying to think about what you're saying. Adding to that, I want to make it clear that even from my relationship, I share things when I it's very important that my partner can handle me being radically honest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when I do share things that do might hurt their feelings, even if it's uncomfortable, I really try to share it with love,
Yeah.
say it with love. I think that's super important. I think that when you're communicating in terms with things that are very uncomfortable, I think it's very important to communicate with love, even if it's showing on your face.
Mm-hmm. Because
Mhm.
it's how you say it,
It
essentially.
really is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really how you say it, and it's like your tone of voice says all.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, how do you say it with love? Like, what if it's something that's like so brutal? How do you say it with love?
You gotta say it calmly.
Say it calmly, and I think you said it. You
I, so,
preface it and say your intentions behind sharing that information. Saying
mm,
I want to share this for my relationship. I would say like I want to share this because I know it's been hurting me, or I know I've been keeping this from you, and I want to make sure that you know everything that's going inside of my head, and I want to resolve it. And I think it will help the relationship grow if we talk about it and we can move forward from it. That my intention is not to hurt you. My intention is to be honest with you, and I think honesty is extremely important again. So
Mm-hmm.
So I really like that. And a question I have, like, I'm not sure if this is an issue that you faced in being with your partner in 4 years, but something I've been watching like loads of, well, I'm listening to loads of relationship podcasts, and sometimes relationships do die down or they feel stuck. They have those periods. So has there ever been a period like that for you, and how did you get past that, and what did you do to revive the spark in the relationship?
Interesting. I think like what I think one of y'all mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, or when we were talking earlier about like being in COVID, being stuck with someone, the
Oh
whole
yeah.
thing. I think that I think it has affected our relationship just a little bit by like constantly being together, not being able to do, certain activities that we used to together just to have fun. Um, I think for our relationship, I think being in a relationship is a journey. So you're never done learning about someone, and people change. Like for my partner, for example, he's always finding new interests, always learning about himself, always, becoming better in some way and understanding which things do fulfill him, don't fulfill him. And I've learned to try to keep up and take him like as he is. So I don't think I ever get bored per se. I don't think I've ever gotten bored in this relationship. I think this relationship keeps me on my toes. My boyfriend also he's hilarious to me. Like he makes me laugh constantly. Like
Aw.
like I don't know. I think we try to like go on new adventures or like again, like my boyfriend is always finding something he's interested in. So we're always like trying to do a different hobby or and getting involved in something else. I don't know. I never really get bored. I really never. I don't think the spark ever dies if you're choosing. This is so corny, but I don't think the spark ever dies choosing to look for the magic in a relationship. It sounds so corny, but I don't know how else to describe it.
Mm.
It's true. It's true though. That's really like what they call true love.
Yes.
Yeah, like your friendships, like I feel like just like any relationship, sometimes friendships get kind of, stale. And what do you do to like have fun with your friends? Like you go out, you take trips, talk about what's going on. Like there's always, if you are choosing to be in that friendship and you're choosing to keep it alive, then you're never gonna get bored.
Right, there's always a conversation.
Right.
Mm.
So like basically being bored of a relationship can be like a state of mind.
I want to speaking personally, I don't know, I don't have a lot of friends in relationships. I don't know what they experience, but I know if I feel like if I'm bored in a relationship, it's because I'm not having fun with my best friend anymore. But
Mm.
he's my best friend, so I'm constantly having fun with him. But
Right.
that's what I've seen in my parents' relationship. Like they're constantly having fun, they're constantly joking around. Like I think laughter is very important in a relationship. Like my partner has the ability, like even when I'm upset at him, he can make, or after we've finished having like an uncomfortable discussion and basically in tears, he can still make me laugh through the tears. I think that's super important. At least
I'm sorry.
Like, oh my gosh, that was so sweet. I feel like I'm watching like one of those little cute little Disney chick flick movies.
I understand what you mean.
You don't hear that anymore.
Yeah,
it's
maybe
Like,
important. I don't know. I feel like I wish more people were candid about their relationships and not trying to make it seem like it's perfect and he
right, they can only show the good moments.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would say for our relationship, I feel like every because the relationships are like they're like the curve, the graph that curves.
mhm.
Sometimes it shouldn't be up and down, up and down, up and down. Sometimes there's going to be really, really high points. Sometimes it's going to be static. Sometimes it's going to go to a low point, and then sometimes,
Hmm.
that's what a relationship is. I feel like those like relationships you hear about, like, oh yeah, we've been together for 30 years, all that. They've had a bunch of those, and I think we can both, me and my partner, can honestly agree and say those low points we've had in our relationship are one of the reasons we're together. you know so I just want to be very candid about that. Like you grow, like conflict helps you grow as a person in a relationship.
It does. And it helps you understand that person better.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot. So for me, like I don't have much friends who are in relationships, or if they're in relationships, it's like so secret. I don't really know. I can't learn anything. So like this is like, oh, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm learning. You know, this is the closest I'm getting to a relationship at the moment.
Once you get into a real relationship, then you would really start to experience these types of things because, like, I haven't been in like a 4-year relationship, but I've been in relation real relationships to where though even though they were probably like at the max 2 years, like you can learn a lot about that person and your attachment style, your love language, like you know how to communicate with somebody, like all that stuff increases as you get into different relationships with people. And it don't have to be, you know, romantic, but when it is a romantic relationship, it requires so much effort. I'm gonna be honest. So if you're not ready to handle like your partner's, I guess, their baggage, or you're not fully committed to working on yourself and working on this relationship at the same time, it's gonna get difficult.
Yeah.
That's what my problem was.
Yeah, you gotta stick. Like I don't know, you gotta stick it out. I feel like my boyfriend and I talk about this so often when we see someone, when we see Black couples, especially, like we'll be like, oh yes, like because we love seeing that. We love seeing other like young Black couples because we don't have we don't have a lot of friends that are in relationships, and we find out sometimes that they break up because they couldn't handle a conflict. Not saying that you should stay in a relationship if there is a lot of conflict, because you should be free to do whatever is best for you. But I also feel like, and I feel like some people might not agree. I feel like a lot of people in this day and age are very, they will leave at the drop of a hat if something, if a disagreement, there's a huge disagreement, or if there's a huge argument, or that like it's, I don't know.
Yeah, because there's a difference between having like just a regular small disagreement, or you just having maybe even multiple disagreements just because you're trying to understand that person. That's totally different from somebody being like toxic.
Yeah.
And it's being an unhealthy relationship.
Yes, exactly. I think that's what I was trying to say.
Maybe that's a sign for them not to really be in a relationship if they're not ready for that commitment.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true, because you do have to be able to, as you said, stick it out. Like, even though it's rocky, some people are like, oh no, I can't deal with this rockiness. Like, you have to be ready to deal with it if you want to be in a long-term relationship.
I do think sometimes people rush into relationships because they see other people in relationships and they're like, oh, this is what I need to be in. Like, all my friends are in relationships. I have to be in a relationship. In reality, they're not really ready for a relationship. And when they actually get into one, they see all the work and effort that it requires. It's like, whoa, no, this is not for me. I don't need it.
Yeah. And then some people, they even like, it's not necessarily that they don't want to be in a relationship. They just don't know how to be.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's a great point. That is a great point.
Some people don't know how to love. Some people don't know how to express their feelings, even if they're good feelings. Like somebody can be so deeply in love with somebody, but
not show it.
Yeah, they don't know how to show it. They're so used to bagging it up, probably from past relationships or family. So when it's coming to somebody who they really want to just, let all that love and emotion show, it can be hard because they don't know if the other person is going to accept it. They don't know if that person is going to take all that love that they're giving and, push it back out and exchange it. Like, some people can take advantage of it. So it's just difficult, to be honest. And now in this day and age, some people just rush it because they don't want to be alone.
Yeah. I also think, adding to your point, I think that's where grace comes in. Because if somebody doesn't know how to love or show their love or doesn't know how to do those things, that's where grace comes in. Because if you know how to do those things, you should be teaching the person you love how to do those things. I think you should have patience,
Right.
grace, give them enough grace because not, yeah, I think I've dealt with that in my relationship. I think in terms of like showing love and all that. But I also, adding to your point, I think it's very important in term when it comes to those like not leaving in a drop of a hat or not leaving when the first huge argument comes. I've learned that you need to really accept people as they are. I think not accept what their potential is. Just look at them as they are as a person right now, and love them as they are right now and hope for change and help them be better. That if you love someone, you're not going to fall in love with their potential and what they could possibly do, how they could possibly love you. You should just love them as they are.
Yeah, I've been hearing that saying a lot lately. Don't like fall in love with someone's potential, fall in love with who they are right now.
Mm-hmm.
And thank
Right.
you. I've been
And if
getting.
you can't fall in love with that person, then that means a lot.
Yeah, just I think you should take the person for who they are in their season of their lives. And if you cannot accept that, then move on because you're wasting your time,
Right.
honestly.
And theirs.
Yeah, and theirs.
So you've been dropping like a lot of gems, well, for me personally. So, like, I wanted to ask, like, what is the worst relationship advice that someone has ever given you, or you can share the
Oh.
best?
I feel like being in a relationship, I feel like a lot of older people always try to like project their insecurities and or like try to say, "Oh, don't do this, don't do that." Especially I feel like older. I come from a Haitian family, so a lot of like older women try to do that. I would say one thing is like trying to control a man. That's never going to work. It's not healthy for a relationship. I think that's one of the worst advice I've gotten. Trying to control him, trying to do certain things to manipulate him, to get what you want. Like that's not how love works. And that if that you're doing that, that's not love. So I think that's definitely one of the worst advice I've gotten. I think another one would be not sharing something because it would ruin the relationship or you think you would be judged for it, like withholding of yourself. I think as a woman, like you're taught to like, if it's not gonna like you could lose a man if you say that or if you do that. You know what I mean? I think if I have to think twice about sharing something with my partner, or if I have to think twice about constantly, if I have to withhold my emotions for somebody, then that's not the relationship I need to be in. So I think that's not good advice either. But I've gotten plenty of bad advice and I've implemented them in my relationship, and I've learned that they were bad advice after I implemented and see what happened in my relationship after I implemented. So
And trial and error.
trial and error.
No, it's so crazy, like how people actually give advice to manipulate your partner. Like what?
Yeah, but it's
I
funny because it works for their, or not works, but it works for their relationship. Like
yeah, yeah, like it was something that they gotten them to that point where they're
right.
partner. That is like, whoa.
Has anyone like give you any good advice?
Has anyone ever given me good advice?
Yeah, like good relationship advice that actually worked.
Hmm. You know, um, recently I've got some good advice um from an older person. They said, an older woman, they said, um, if he's not doing something, if you want your man or your partner to do something, you have to explicitly say it. And that I feel like that sounds so rudimentary, but for example, if you like flowers, don't bash your partner and like say, oh, you know, you never get me flowers. Da, 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 da. Instead, say, I like flowers. These are the flowers I like. If you pick them out for me, or if you brought them from time to time, maybe a month or once a month or once every 2 months, I would very much appreciate that. And then see if your partner acts accordingly. Expressing what you want explicitly, especially to men, because men will not read your mind, which is something I'm learning. Expressing that is really good. Also, um, also, I've learned to not um, don't bash your man or like tear him down when he's not doing something you want. Like, for example, the car door. Some people want the car door to be open for them. If he doesn't open the car door for you, you shouldn't say, oh, you never open the car door for me. You you never do that. You never do this. Other men do that, and you shouldn't do that. All you got to do is when he does it, you overpraise. That is some of the best advice I've ever gotten. You overpraise. So when my boyfriend does something really sweet for me, I overpraise. I say, oh my gosh, this means so much to me. Like, I'm so thankful. Like, you are the best boyfriend ever. And I really do mean it when I say it. I'm not ever trying to be manipulative. I just try to make sure he knows how it makes me feel. And when he doesn't do it, I just don't comment. I overpraise. And it's for conditioning. It sounds manipulative, but it's not. It's you do this to everyone. Technically, it's positive feedback.
It makes sense.
You're conditioning that person to do what you like. And men, I think, and from the advice I've been given, men love that. If someone really truly loves you, they're gonna want to make you happy. So if they know they're making you happy, if a guy feels like they're making you happy, oh, this is what makes my girl tick, then they're gonna keep doing that. Especially if you overpraise.
Positive reinforcement. That's in psychology.
But that's some of the best. That's definitely some of the best advice I've gotten.
Well, you've definitely dropped some good old gems today.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't really want to interrupt. I'm like, oh, is she done? Because I'm like, sometimes I think people are done and like they have more to say. So I'm just like, let me just let you finish.
I really could talk about this all day. So I'm so happy I was able to be a guest on your show.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you.
And congratulations on 4 years.
Thank you. It's a long 4 years.
Praying for many more years for you guys.
Definitely.
Right. Maybe you should start your own little, YouTube channel or something, educating us single folks.
Yeah, we'll definitely tune in. Be like, okay.
Right.
The support. But yeah, hopefully like one day you look back and like listen to this podcast, like, I was so young back then. Remember this? Yeah.
Pray.
And we wish you like all the happiness in your relationship. It will flourish. It will definitely flourish more because everything has to flourish in life. So yes.
Right.
Thank you.
I can definitely see the both of you succeeding.
Thank you.
I
love it.
I actually really liked this conversation. It felt like 2 seconds. I'm like, wait, we're done already? But thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't want to hold you too much because you just came from work and I know like the rest.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, thank y'all. Have a great rest of your night. I'm glad I was able to speak on your podcast. I love your podcast. I especially love your theme song.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And quickly before going, if you want to shout out your Instagram or anything, so the listeners can maybe follow you, go ahead.
Oh yeah, you can follow me at DJARLES DeJarles on Instagram at DeJarles. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, y'all follow her if you're listening. Anyone that's listening.
Thank you for joining us today on the Young Intellect podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, and tell a friend to tell a friend about us, and make sure you take care of yourself and your mind.
Cause I'm a young intellect. I'm a young intellect. I'm a young intellect.